Hi, I would like to try to summarize my institutional and my individual share for my that part of my summer jam huddle AVID experience, whatever we're calling it. Sorry. And there are two formal experiences that stand out. The first being last spring, and it was during one of our faculty meetings, whether it was professional development days or institutional development days, I don't remember. But in any event, it was our huddle sharing, and we were downstairs of the Welcome Center. I just blanked out, sorry, the Welcome Center in El Dorado. And we shared to a group about different experiences or techniques that we were currently using in our classes. And so this is going to get boring if it's not already. I tend to really focus on technology in the classroom in terms of video and video assessment and video via web conference and Zoom. So that's what I spoke on. I spoke on the fact that my students are using video in the classroom, both for self-assessment and for my assessment, live and via webcam, and that I'm having them turn in assignments via video in Canvas as well. And that was really well received. I don't know, it's funny. My reaction to both Zoom and Canvas is that it seems like a lot of faculty are aware of it. They know it exists, but for some reason are reluctant to try it. And my response to that is don't be afraid. I think that the reluctance is that initial knee-jerk reaction from students who don't like the idea of being videotaped. But long term, even within a week, really, and that's not long term, but not immediately, but after some thought, and particularly long term by the end of the semester, I'm trying to think. I don't want to make the statement virtually no student has complained, but I can't think of one. In fact, the majority of students tell me how valuable that experience was. So I really encourage the use of video in the classroom, and that's what I spoke on at that particular day. And then late spring, early this summer, again, I don't remember the date, but it was for the new summer jam group on 2016. I and 11 of my colleagues met, and we had, I think Mark called us the Dirty Dozen because we sat in a line and shared our experiences with the incoming group of summer jammers and reflected on that and answered questions. And that was really interesting because as I looked out at them, they looked a little shell-shocked and dumbfounded and confused by the things we were talking about. And I suppose looking back, I might have felt that way too. I know going into my first summer jam, I had absolutely no idea what to expect. And it's hard, like with any new class, to reassure them that this is going to be a positive and pleasant experience. So that's what that night was about. And then later that week, not the next day because I was busy, I don't remember what day of the week that was, maybe Monday night. On Wednesday, I think, I came late in the afternoon to observe the activity that was planned. Again, it was in the basement of the Welcome Center, and the groups, the new summer jammers had been broken into groups and were working on solving puzzles. It was a problem solving to get out of the room based on the new escape games that are taking shape all over the country. And that was really fun to watch them work as groups and see how some groups had broken into little dyads and triads, and others were still working as a whole group, and some were more successful than others. And I think there's a little bit of luck involved in what puzzle did or what question did they choose to solve first, and where did it lead them. And it was particularly interesting to watch one group that had already solved the problem. The answer was right in front of them. They were reading it out loud, but they didn't recognize it as the answer. So that was very interesting. And then I believe it was the following day that I came back and attended one of the group sessions. And again, I was only able to be there for the morning session, but 3 or 4 hours, and I participated. And they were different activities than we had done in our summer jam the year before. So I found that particularly helpful. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. And I just wish that everybody who hasn't been a part of this could understand how fulfilling, interesting, enlightening, exciting those meetings are. And had I had the time, and Mark would have allowed us, he wouldn't let us do Summer Jam again as a real participant, but I would love to have attended all 5 days of the 216 Summer Jam, in addition to the Summer Jam I did the year before in 2015, because I'm sure there was some repetition. There has to be. I mean, there's certain content that we have to learn, but the activities were slightly different and new speakers, and it was just so enjoyable. And every little bit of it, I'm going to use a theater analogy here. When I'm working with actors and we're trying to find moments on stage and we're doing different exercises to try to get to that particular moment, or a feeling, or an awareness in a scene, we may try 1,000 different things. I may try a different thing, 1,000 different things. Well, maybe not that many, dozens of different things during a rehearsal process to get the actors to that moment. And we may never find that moment again on stage, but the process of discovering what that felt like and how we got there is what acting is all about. And I don't know that I've ever made this correlation between acting and teaching. This correlation, of course, there's the whole performance aspect, but a lot of things that I've learned through Summer Jam and through AVID are activities and exercises that may not in and of themselves on that day bring about the desired result, but cumulatively or separately and randomly over time, one of those is going to reach a student in a particular way. One of those activities is going to click, and maybe it'll click for me as a new way of presenting material. But to me, that's what AVID is about, and that's what Summer Jam has been about, experimenting with all of those different ideas and taking a few away that are really useful immediately in my classroom. And the rest of them are percolating in there somewhere, and I'll draw on one in a particular instance if I remember it and if it's needed. But I didn't have those tools a year and a half ago. I didn't have those tools. So I guess the last part of the summary that I need to talk about is sharing with colleagues. And no, I don't remember everybody I've talked to. I certainly didn't do a good job of writing it down and keeping a diary. But I can tell you this, every adjunct that I observed and every instructor, well, every adjunct that I observed as a chair, we talked about it. We talked about AVID strategies. Some of them were using AVID strategies and didn't know it. And we discussed how to expand that, or just recognizing that this is what it is and this is a great idea. You're engaging students in a new way. and that is AVID. And of instructors that were not my instructors, not in my department or my division that I observed, I saw AVID being used in different ways. I saw strategies in the classroom being used in different ways, and there was interaction about that. Interacting with my colleagues, particularly within my department, almost every time that we were together as a group or together formally, we had that discussion. Other colleagues that just dropped by my office or I dropped by theirs, I'm trying to think what percentage of the time we would discuss it. Probably half the time. So if I was out socializing, we were talking about classroom strategies. And you'll laugh at this, but I even talk about AVID at dog shows. In fact, I was at the AKC Eukanuba National Championship last December, and we were out at dinner. It's very clear in my mind. We were in Orlando. We were at Big Fin, and I was eating fabulous soft shell crab, and I was sitting across from a lady who is a professor in Texas, and we were talking about AVID. We were at a dog show. We were at a nice dinner, and the entire evening's conversation was about that. Oops, sorry. And also about assessment. So between those two topics of conversation, it was very part of my life. It was very much part of our conversation, and it is a part of my life. And that's the takeaway, Mark. If you haven't heard that from everybody who's been through this process, I'd be really surprised. AVID is part of my life. I may not use it in every class. I may not I'm certainly not where I want to be in terms of utilizing it, but it is in my brain, in my teaching plan, and I use it. I think about it. I'm aware of it. And as I said in the last vlog that I recorded, my 3 big takeaways from this semester are that students years later remember Cornell notes, which I'm going to brush up on, I promise, maybe even between now and the beginning of the semester. Cornell notes, very important. Tutoring students correctly, tutoring them to find their own resources and helping them to think for themselves, to think critically, and finally being an accessible instructor. Those are my takeaways from a year. That's not a year. It's 12, 13, 14, 15, almost 16 months of engrossing myself, and I do mean engrossing myself, in AVID strategies, learning from my colleagues, brainstorming, reading, blogging, talking to students, sharing. It's been a great experience, and I know every year that you do this, it will tighten up and become more focused, but I don't know, for me, I liked the latitude. I liked being able to find it in my own way. And thank you for encouraging me to vlog, because vlogging is now a part of my life in other areas of my life as well. I actually have followers. How fun is that? Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for all that you do. And I think that's it. Thank you.